Have you read this book? This book is so weird. I don't know if it's considered a classic or not, but I do know that Anne McCaffrey's the dragon books are classics. Not interested in that, but I did pick this up because of the cover. So anyway, let's talk about this weird ass book. Brainship 1 book. This is a series. What? Brainship 1, The Ship Who Sang by Legend of the Game, Anne McCaffrey. Here's a brief summary for those of you who haven't done the homework, so you can decide if you want to read the book and then go read it and then come back so we can talk about this weird little book. There's a ship, but this is no ordinary ship. There is a lady inside this ship. The ship is also the lady. The ship in question can also sing, and she does sing. And she goes on many adventures / jobs, the point of which is to pay back the humongous, incredible, insurmountable debt that she incurred merely by being born in the body that she was born in, because she had to be trained from birth to be put into a ship because of the way that she was born. It's an interesting enough book. The writing style I can only describe as like it's as old. That's all I can say. But there are moments where it does actually flow nicely. Would I recommend this book? Sure, why not? Why not? Go read it and then come back. Like, this video will be here until, I don't know, YouTube collapses probably. I don't know. I'm wearing pleather pants that my mother bought for me when she was still alive, like years and years and years ago. And like, I just don't understand. Like, you just have to walk around sounding like this. Huh? Shout out to my mom though, in the grave. Well, the story of the ship who sang is as I described it. Halva the ship, she's a human woman entombed within this ship, and also her senses have been externalized. They're those of the ship. She has a massive debt to pay, and she goes on these adventures / jobs to try and pay off. The book feels episodic, and during my first read, I remember thinking many times during the book, like, girl, and what's the plot? Where's the plot, girl? What is this? What is the plot? Until I figured out what genre I was reading. But we'll get to that. The story starts off briefly with baby and child Halva, as Anne McCaffrey eases us into this world and explains why there's a woman entombed in a ship. We also get specifics about what this future world is like. By the way, this entombment is like forever. Like, she could live hundreds, and there's another ship in this book who's like 600, something like that. I was like, oh my god, so many of my worst nightmares in one thing: the claustrophobia and also living forever. Oh my god, the only thing keeping me alive is knowing that I'll be dead in 2038. One of the babies died in the initial transferal, but of Halva's class, 17 thrived in the metal shells. Instead of kicking feet, Halva's neural responses started her wheels. Instead of grabbing with hands, she manipulated mechanical extensions. As she matured, more and more neural synapses could be adjusted to operate other mechanisms that went into the maintenance and running of a spaceship. Yeah, okay. But why? Save the questions for later, please. Thank you. We then move on to adult Halva, who is no longer just enshelled, but now also enshipped. And Halva wants a partner, a scout, abroad. And what the hell is that? Well, these are like, Halva is in the ship, right? But there are things that need to be done when you dock, for example. Who's gonna offload the cargo? Halva can take the cargo down the lift. She doesn't have like little robots that she can use. So she needs hands, she needs eyes, she needs legs. We also maybe need somebody to like do a bit of a walk around wherever it is we're docked, you know, on the planet as well. Halva can't do any of that because she's in a ship. So that's what the scouts are. They're partners, their pilots, their hands, their legs, loves. It can be completely platonic, co-workers, and tall and hot. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about the idea of never feeling the sun on your skin, never experiencing being caught in a thunderstorm, never smelling rain, petting a dog, sitting in the sun, reading a book under a tree, eating an orange. Apparently, there are brawn barracks. Just as Halva was conditioned or trained from birth to be a ship, there are people who are trained to be the pilot of a ship, to be the partner of a ship. platonically, I guess. And there are barracks of these people. And if you want, maybe you want to snatch one up and throw a party within yourself as a ship. Maybe pick one. They'll all apparently try to court you. Literally my worst nightmare, by the way. But I guess it's more efficient than doing it one by one. How do you court a lady who is also a ship? Jenan does so with song and by seeing her, but without literally seeing her. Jenan, alone of the men, had addressed his remarks directly at her physical presence, regardless of the fact that he knew she could pick up his image wherever he was in the ship, and regardless of the fact that her body was behind massive metal walls. Halva laughed. He startled her by stamping up to the column panel, touching it with light, tender fingers. I wonder what she looked like, he said softly, wistfully. Halva had been briefed about this natural curiosity of scouts. She didn't know anything about herself, and neither of them ever would or could. Like it's normal. Like it's just a normal thing that a woman is trying. Anyway, Halva and Jenan are pretty happy together. You know, they're well suited. They love music. And Jenan treats Halva like a human as much as he can because, you know, she's entombed in a ship. But alas, he dies very early on in the book. Like very early on. And it's very tragic, of course. Yeah, very sad and tragic. But it's written in that like old matter-of-fact choppy style. So it failed to elicit anything. Felt nothing. But, you know, R.I.P. Jenan, damn. And then we get to the part where it's Halva just hopping from adventure to adventure, from temporary scout to temporary scout. She's sad this whole time. And like I said, it feels episodic. And while I was reading this, I was like, Anne, girl, Anne, where's the plot? What's happening? During my first read, despite some of the terms that were being used, court, unusually fine looking, the bronze being tall and hot, all of that stuff. And also the whole Halva and Jenan thing, being basically married. Despite all of that, it still didn't click for me what was going on. I was still like, Anne, where's the plot? It did eventually click that I was reading a romance. And when it did, I was like, okay, who's our lucky guy? You're not a brawn. Thanks, pal. The wiry man said in an all too familiar voice. You're Niall Parolan of Regulus, your coordinating communications officer. I only noticed the clues about Niall on my second read, by the way, because despite the fact that I am an avid lifelong romance reader, I don't see it unless I'm expecting it. Like I'm just as oblivious as I am in my own actual life. Niall is quite crazy about Halva, almost from the beginning. Parolan was staring at her with an inscrutable intentness. He put one hand out to stroke the smooth metal on the exact spot where the seam closed access to her inner shell. Sure, crazy about her, but a huge part of me struggles to call any of this love in any form. Niall wants to see her desperately. He wants to hold her. He wants to deflower her. He does seem to care about her continuing to exist, presumably so he can eventually find a way at some point to release and fuck her, I guess. I don't know. But like, is this love? Can love exist in circumstances as horrific as these? Questions for later. So we're in the episodic part of the story and we're having several adventures. And to be fair to Anne McCaffrey, Legend of the Game, Anne, each one of those is character development, minor, major character development. Halva slowly grieves Jenan. Hello. In another one, she chooses to remain entombed in a ship and to remain a ship rather than snatching up the body of like a hot young woman and like it's just sitting there. Much to Niall's frustration, Niall is pissed. He's like, girl, get in that body. Get in. Niall really wants to have sex with her. I realized this on my second read, by the way. The first time I read this, I just thought he wanted her to snatch up the body for like moral reasons. Like, hey, you have the opportunity to experience being human the way that I can experience being human. Why not take the opportunity? Oh, so naive and oblivious of me. It's like Niall is so horny. Other adventures, she helps people. She also gets kidnapped. That saga, horrifying. The little episodes are fine, but I was particularly interested in her brief interactions with other women in the book. I was interested because of when this book was released. I wanted to see what Anne would do, how Anne would write other women, and how they would interact with each other. And I must say, pleasantly surprised. The reason why this felt episodic, I've learned, is that this was apparently short stories. These were short stories that were like smushed together and you can feel it. But the thing is, there are threads that go throughout the book to make it feel like a book. One of those threads is Halva's uncompromising desire, want, need, requirement. She needs companionship. And also Neil just like really wanting to fuck her. Like he wants her so bad. Very few people she had met, Halva admitted sadly, thought of her as Halva, a person, a thinking, feeling, rational, intelligent, eminently human being. In fact, the only mobile human who appeared to regard Halva as Halva was Niall Paralan. Our story ends with Halva paying off her massive debt earlier than usual, way earlier than usual, and Neil plotting and succeeding in keeping her in his orbit, but using the carrot rather than a stick, using something that she like actually wants to do, keep her in the same company that he works for, so that she can be under his like care management. And Halva, during this very clunky, almost incomprehensible scene. I don't know again if it's just me or it's the writing. I think it's the writing. I'm gonna blame the writing. The scene is so awkward. Halva, during this scene, negotiates for what she's always wanted, what she's wanted this whole book. She wants a companionship. But she gets way more than she bargained for. She gets a man who is obsessed with her, but whom she can trust with her life, I guess. Then we get this universe and era and worlds and books, version, very choppy version of the classic airport chase scene. We get this version of that. The end. No kiss, of course, for obvious reasons. Halva is a woman trapped in metal, entombed within a ship. She has never had chocolate. Day is done, gone the sun, from the sea, from the land, from the sky. All is well, rest in peace, God is nigh. Okay, so here's what I liked about this book. The narration style is like third person objective, and it operates on the internal logic of the world. Like it does not feel like Anne at all. You just know somehow. And I find a lot of older books are good at that, at like making it very clear somehow without stating that, hey, this is not the author. This is the narrator. The only time I remember feeling her interjecting was like during this. And sometimes Anne would put like normal in the word normal in parentheses, particularly when she was talking about human bodies. Those are the only times I was like, okay, so that's Anne telling us like, hey guys, hey, this is not me. I like narratives that are completely objective. Everyone's on board and it's just you on the outside like, what the they just present everything in it as if it's completely normal, and that just makes it so fun and horrifying. And that's another thread throughout these little short stories / this book. It's the horror of it all. It's horrifying the whole way through. You never get used to this idea. I think I liked the romance. Let me be honest, I loved it. But I liked it for her. And in the context of this world, I just like yearning. I just like two people yearning, two people falling in impossible love. I liked the variety of women we were presented with. This was released in 1969, so I was expecting something completely different. But the women in these we get all sorts. We get competent women, we get one who's like completely distant and disinterested, we get vapid ones, we get conniving women. Like it's just, we get humans. I also liked how big and tall was like a positive thing at the beginning of the book, and then towards the end it wasn't anymore. The most interesting thing about this to me is the thing I said about the narrator, is how normal this is. The society is structured around this, and you're sitting there horrified like, surely there must be a better way. There must. All right, now it's question time. Ask me your stupid questions. Also, there are aliens in this. Obviously, first question, why entombment? Why are we entombed in metal and not like, I don't know, limb regeneration or something? Why? Oh my God, great question. Okay, my first thought was, before I looked at the publishing date, like, hey, maybe this book is old as hell and like this is maybe too old for like computer stuff. Nope, wrong. Who deluded themselves that a shell person was really not human, was actually a highly sophisticated computer. It's this and not limb regeneration or anything else, or like, I don't know, prosthetics. If we look at it textually, this is like one of those like horrific future corpo capitalist, hyper capitalist, evil, exploitative worlds and societies, and they need people to be in these ships, to be the ships, to pilot the ships. They don't have the technology. The technology that they have is humans and human brain. Put yourselves in the shoes of the Elon Musks of this world. Why not disable people? Did I mention that before, that she was not born with like a standard body? I think she doesn't have all her limbs or something. I don't remember the specifics, but like that's who they put in the ships. And in this society, this is them doing her a favor. Like, look, we've given her a life and a purpose and, a means to interact with the world. Yeah, sure, it's via a ship. And yeah, she's like entombed in it, but like, she can see stuff with the cameras of the ship. She can hear and far, and she can see way better than you can. See, we've done them a favor. All of this is implicit and casual, by the way, and that's what makes this so horrifying. It's like, yep. I do, however, think that there is something to this. The brain thing, like the putting the brain, like using the brain, the human brain as a computer, not the whole, you're disabled, get on a ship, not that part, but the whole human brain thing. Because I think we underestimate brains, like organic brains, and overestimate our ability to replace them. Look at the things that we call AI right now. We've come up with chatbots that are good at predicting the next word, the best word to use next after the word that they've just used. That's it. They don't know anything. They don't have the capacity to know. They don't have the ability to know that they don't know. This is also like a classic sci-fi idea of like actually using organic brains. I like this specifically in a book called Natural History by Justina Robson, and I love that book. One of my favorite books. I have a copy of that. Rare. Me owning a physical book. Why not a computer? Why not a computer? Oh my God, another great question. Contextually, I can only speculate, but I think that it was this and not a computer because this is the book that Anne wanted to write. I think that's just it. Anne wanted to write a book about a woman who is trapped inside of a ship, growing, metaphorically, loving, grieving, learning, grappling with moral quandaries, and then loving again. Okay. So this is a romance, right? What about sex? First of all, not all ship scout relationships are romantic. Jenin and Niall, however, they definitely are romantic, 100%. And like, what does that mean? What does that mean for both the entombed person and for the mobile party? By the way, this is my favorite thing in sci-fi romances. I just wish it was presented as more of a problem. I wish there were more biological, physiological differences, and it was like, how am I going to have sex with this alien that I've fallen in love with? I wish that was like an actual thing that we had to grapple with, rather than, thank God this alien has a dick and balls. Anyway, back to the ship who sang. Basically, like, what the pairs decide to do seems to be like on a case-to-case individual basis. Like, it depends on what you guys agree on, I guess. My dear girl, you are fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Why, that man's a pure stud. Why, that man's pure stud. He'd never lock himself away in a bronze celibacy. Great heaving gods. Maybe he would. He sent those girls away last night. This is in reference to Niall, who is extremely horny for Helva. A bronze celibacy implies that the celibacy is a requirement, but it isn't. But there are mentions in this book of like, I don't know, this world's equivalent of brothels. She could understand the vanishing point visit. The house was notorious for the variety and ingenuity of its entertainments. Most planets had several such establishments, particularly in spaceport cities, and most Brawns were regular customers. Jenin's father was also a scout to a ship called Sylvia for many, many, many years. And Jenin's father was married and sired kids. He had kids using his own genetic material from his testicles. There is a hint as to how our romantic pairs could possibly have sex, engage in sexual activity. I wonder what you look like, he said softly, wistfully. Pick any form, shape, and shade, and I'll be yours obliging, she countered, as training suggested. There are multiple scenes of Niall and Jenin touching Helva's central column where she's encased, by the way, entombed forever, touching it like tenderly and affectionately and wistfully, desperately also. And what about the entombed? Well, as a shell person, she considered herself remote from emotions largely connected with physical desires. I just love how Anne McCaffrey phrased that. But of course, Helva is a human being, and we're shown her trying to stifle her jealous reaction to her two lovers, Jenin and Niall, being mentioned in the same breath as pleasure houses or brothels. And she does like legit consider deeply switching to a human body, like taking that young woman's body. She's not using it, like she's dirt. But Helva was raised and conditioned from birth to be enshelled and entombed and to be a ship and to use a ship's senses. she ultimately decides that she wants to remain a ship. So maybe she really has no desire to be physical with her dudes in the way that we would find satisfying. However, my own true love, I've been glued to this tight beam for 3 days for your sake, and the stim tabs have worn off. I'm dead in the seat. This man literally called her his own true love, and me reading this in the first time in January, I was like, and what genre are you writing? Anne, hey Anne McCaffrey, what genre are you writing? And that's the book. Your assignment for this module is to answer the following questions in your brain, in the comments if you want. Like, you don't have to. You just think about this. What is love? Can this be love? Can this what's happening in this book? Can it be love? And now it's time for the final section of this video. That's right. It's art with some. This is what I was picturing the whole time reading this book. Cool. Do I have a pen? Great. Love the ads. Love those ads. Great ads. How do I erase what I just did? Where's the undo button? Great. This is what I was picturing the whole time. Okay. So this is what the ship looks like, right? This is how this ship, it's on the cover. It's like that. It's like that, and those are the legs. And then there's a central column it is described, which I presume is like running along the center of the ship. And this is where Halva is. This is Halva. Hey girl. She's in here. She's entombed in the ship. That's what I was picturing the whole time. And then there are like couches and stuff. There's like a kitchen. There's like an area, like beds and shit. We've made some beautiful art together today. And I give this a 10 out of 10. Beautiful art. Anybody could look at this and know exactly what they're looking at.